Have you ever hit a huge milestone, closed a major deal, or finally gotten through a crisis, only to feel more on edge than you did in the middle of it all? It's a strange, unsettling feeling, isn't it? Well, in this explainer, we are going to get into exactly that, why calm can feel so suspicious, and how to understand the stress system inside you that just refuses to power down.
This right here, this is the whole idea. That unease you feel, it isn't a rational choice. It's not some flaw in your thinking. It's the output of a much deeper, much faster system that's running in the background way beneath your conscious awareness. So let's take a look at how that system actually works.
This is the central mystery we're trying to solve. You won. The project launched, the funding's in the bank, the emergency is over. So logically, you should be feeling relief, right? But instead, there's this low hum of anxiety, this feeling like you've missed something. I want to be clear, this isn't just you. This is a predictable, almost universal pattern.
Yeah, that feeling, it's not some random quirk. We call it pressure's lasting echo. It's like the ghost of a high-stakes environment that hangs around long after the actual pressure has disappeared.
And this is the pattern. Just look at the range of these high-performance fields where this echo shows up. We're talking about the air traffic control tower, the operating room, the trading floor, and even the battlefield. The jobs are totally different, but the internal mechanism, it's exactly the same. We're dealing with a fundamental feature of the human stress system.
So what is that mechanism? For a minute, let's stop thinking about this as a psychological feeling and start seeing it for what it actually is. It's the normal behavior of your brain's predictive threat system. See, this system is designed for one thing, to keep you alive by figuring out what might go wrong next. And after it's been on high alert for a long time, it doesn't just switch off.
The first reason your system stays fired up is what we call persistent threat scanning. Let's break down the mechanics behind it. Okay, so your brain is constantly building a model of the world based on your recent experiences. Now, if that experience has been chaotic, demanding, and full of threats, your brain basically says, okay, chaotic and demanding is the new normal. So when calm finally arrives, the system doesn't register it as safety, it registers it as missing data. It thinks, wait a minute, the threat has to be here somewhere, I just can't see it yet. That delay, that lag, that's threat model inertia. And this is where we get it wrong. We turn it inward. We tell ourselves, I'm just being negative, or I need to stop overthinking. But the system reality is much more neutral than that. It's not a personality flaw. Your internal software is just running on old data. It hasn't gotten a signal strong enough to tell it to update its assumptions about the world.
Now, the second signal is where this purely mechanical process starts to get tangled up with our sense of self. We actually start to see that state of high alert as a core part of who we are. I mean, think about it. In any high-stakes job, what gets you praised, what gets you promoted? Spotting the problem no one else saw, anticipating the risk, being the person who's always on. Over time, your nervous system learns a very simple equation. Vigilance equals success. Vigilance equals competence. And if vigilance is competence, then what's relaxation? Well, it starts to feel an awful lot like negligence. And of course, we tell ourselves a nice story about it. I just have high standards, or I'm just really dedicated. But if you look at it from a systems perspective, the story is very different. The nervous system is basically caught in a trap, a feedback loop where it never ever gets credible proof that it's safe to power down. Every single success that you achieve through vigilance just reinforces the idea that you need more vigilance.
Which brings us to our third and final signal. And this might be the most important one of all. We tend to assume that safety is the default state, the baseline we're supposed to return to. But it's not. Safety isn't a default. It's a learned signal.
Your brain is, at its core, a pattern recognition machine. So for it to actually believe that an environment is safe, it needs data. And not just a little bit of data, it needs a lot of it. It needs to see predictable routines, day in and day out. It needs to experience stable outcomes over and over again. Without that consistent, overwhelming stream of safe data, it's always going to treat a moment of calm as a fluke, as a temporary pause, not a new reality.
So we tell ourselves this logical story. The crisis is done, therefore I should feel relaxed. But the nervous system doesn't operate on logic. It operates on history. And if its entire recent history is full of crises, it just concludes that another one is statistically likely to be right around the corner. So it stays in this anticipatory mode, getting ready for the good news to be reversed at any moment. So what's the big deal? Well, this isn't just a harmless state of being. A system that is always running, that never powers down, ends up paying an incredibly high price over time.
This constant state of alert comes with a massive tax on our cognitive and emotional resources. This chart here really visualizes that trade-off. We call it the vigilance tax. You can see that as the system pumps more and more resources into anticipatory anxiety, that rising bar, it's stealing those resources from cognitive bandwidth and from present moment focus. You are literally living in a future that might never happen, and you're paying for it with the reality that's right here in front of you.
And the long-term outcomes are pretty much exactly what you'd expect from a system that's running at 100% capacity 24/7. You get this persistent cognitive fatigue that never goes away. Your emotional world starts to shrink until all you can feel is alert or exhausted. You can even become dependent on pressure just to feel effective. And this, right here, is the silent structural road that leads directly to burnout.
So what is the way out of this? The answer isn't a breathing technique. It's not a vacation. It requires a fundamental shift in your paradigm. It's about moving from fighting the feeling to actually understanding the system. It's about recalibrating your entire internal model. Take a look at this. On the left, you've got the standard approach, what we call the suppression mindset. You fight the anxiety, you feel guilty for not being able to relax, you try to force yourself to be calm. It's a battle you will always lose. But on the right, that's the systems mindset. Here, you see the unease for what it is, just a signal from an uncalibrated system. You start to actively decouple your identity from the need to be constantly vigilant, you stop trying to force calm, and you start asking a much better question. What data does my system need to learn that it's safe? You know, truly understanding this system isn't about finding easy answers. It's about learning to ask better, more precise questions. So we're going to wrap up with 3 questions for you to reflect on. And I'll warn you, they aren't meant to be comforting. They're meant to be clarifying.
No, really. In this moment of quiet, what specific outcome is your body, your mind, physically preparing to handle? Try to name it.
Your brain's predictive engine is running a constant simulation of failure. What does that failure scenario look like? What's the story it keeps playing on a loop?
And finally, the most important question of them all. And I don't just mean physically safe, I mean systemically safe. What are the actual conditions, the environment, the data points that would finally allow your predictive threat system to stand down? When does it truly believe the crisis is over?